and I say this all the time, there's a reason 50 Shades of Grey sold millions and millions of copies. It's not because men were reading it. It's not because women didn't like it, so they decided to read it. It's because that's their fantasy, guys. They want a man who is sexy, who's having hot sex in the bedroom. And if your wife isn't displaying that with you, she's thinking about it with somebody else. Just a hardcore fact. If you're not making the changes for yourself first, and you're making it for them, they know it's not going to last. How long does it actually take? I mean, when will she realize that I've changed? Now, this is the message I got from a man just the other day. You know, the message went something like this. This man and his wife had separated. They had a child together. And he had gone and started doing the work on himself and realized kind of the error in his ways, if you will, and realized how to course correct. But at this time, there had been some damage, some collateral damage within the marriage. You see, he had shown up very aggressively, very businesslike in his marriage, and that had pushed his wife away. And now they were separated, living in separate houses. And he hated it. It drove him nuts to realize that his wife is truly the love of his life, to realize that he doesn't get to spend as much time with his child. Now his child's young, and he wants to be there. He wants to be the amazing father. Now this guy is a very successful businessman, very intelligent. But what he didn't realize is in the past, his success, his tenacity, he brought it into his marriage, which really pushed his wife away. When he realized kind of the quote, error in his ways, if you will, or the way that he wanted to show up differently, right? His wife wasn't quite ready for it, right? She said, hey, look, we're already separated. Enough's enough. I don't think this is going to work out. Fast forward a few months of him showing up again and again as the lighthouse. She started to get closer. They started to go on dates again. He started to go over to her house for dinners on a regular basis, but yet she still wanted to live in separate houses. And this would frustrate him, as it would frustrate anybody. And he was like, Doug, we went out for a great date night. It was really fun. I dropped her off the house, gave her a kiss, and then she just turned around and went inside. Like, when is this ever going to change? When is she going to realize that I'm a changed man? I said, look, that's great. First of all, it's great for you doing the work. There's two things here. One is, are you putting a finite timeline on this? In other words, are you saying that she's the love of your life, but yet you're going to give her 3 months to totally course correct 5+ years of you showing up kind of like a jerk, really, over dominant and all the things that he shared with me? I said, well, yeah, I can see what you're saying, but just, he's like, I've changed. Like, these changes I've made are real. You know, he went through the activation method for relationships. He went to the Alpha Reset, which is our flagship transformational experience. And he went into one of our other programs as well. And because of that, he had all this reinforcements. All these changes have occurred in his life, all for the better. His business was doing better than ever, and yet he wasn't having to work very hard. His relationships outside of his marriage were better than ever. In fact, his marriage in some ways was better than it ever had been. He was listening in ways that he had never listened. He and his wife were relating. They were having fun, but yet she still wanted to stay separated. Why is that? He's like, it's so frustrating. And then he showed me a message that he had sent her. I said, wow, I could see there's a little sting in that message reply to her. He's like, yeah, I get frustrated sometimes that she's not seeing me for who I am. I get frustrated sometimes, Doug, because I'm putting in all this work and all this change that's happened, and yet I'm still separated. I'm still at home at night by myself while my son sleeps at the other house, while my wife sleeps at the other house. When is this all going to change? And so what I explained to him is something I want to explain to you guys, because this took me a little while to really understand and get. And I've talked about this before on other episodes of the podcast, and it's really important to embody this. Now, you see what was happening for this guy, and happens for most marriages, is when your partner starts to course correct, right? So for him, he realizes that, hey, for the past 5+ years, he'd been kind of aggressive, kind of a jerk in the marriage. Now, he didn't see it that way, but he saw how he hurt his wife, and his wife confirmed. And that's why she wanted a separation. She wanted divorce. And he was able to save it by going through the activation method and making changes to just being a separation, right, for now, and course correcting. But what's happening is he's all of a sudden showing up as this amazing man, right? The man he always has been naturally. See, the activation method and the alpha reset, we kind of strip away the BS that society puts on men. We strip that away so men can be themselves. You get your mojo back, right? You feel better about yourself. You realize how to tap into your heart in a way that you probably never have. You realize how to communicate with women in a way you probably never have, in a way that makes them feel safe, seen, heard, and desired, right? Those are very important things. And most women never get that from their man. So he starts doing all this, right? And so you can imagine she's excited. Here he is. Yay. I've been waiting for this guy to show up for 6, 7 years. Oh my gosh, he's here. He's here. He's here. And then her subconscious goes, wait, it's only been 3 months. He's showing up this way. Has he really changed? Or is this just an act to get me back? And then as soon as he gets me back, I come let him back into the home. He's just going to be a jerk again, right? He's going to go back to his old ways. He's going to backslide. And then I'm stuck. At least here at separation, I have my freedom and I don't have to be belittled or whatever else was going on in that relationship. You see, she's scared that if she opens her heart again to you, or to him in this case, but let's just talk about you. If she opens her heart up to you, then she's going to be hurt. So it's safer for her to keep her heart closed. This is often why men will describe their wives as cold, not uncaring, that they don't want sex, which guys, I can tell you what, man, women are dirtier than men. I can tell you, I'm sure it's not your wife, and I've heard all these stories, except for the fact that I've heard many men say, well, my wife's not like that, only to find out when my wife ends up working with them, because she coaches women, to find out that, oh no, she's dirty, she's fantasizing, it's just not with him, right? There's a reason, and I say this all the time, there's a reason 50 Shades of Grey sold millions and millions of copies. It's not because men were reading it. It's not because women didn't like it, so they decided to read it. It's because that's their fantasy, guys. They want a man who is sexy, who's having hot sex in the bedroom. And if your wife isn't displaying that with you, she's thinking about it with somebody else. Just a hardcore fact. So how do you get it back? You have to have safety in the marriage. She has to feel seen, heard, and desired. So with all of that, right, her heart has to be very open. Now, when she sees you doing the work, she sees those shifts. She sees you showing up as the amazing man that you are, right? The leader, the provider, the protector at your house. She wants to open her heart, but she's scared to because she's been hurt so many times. She's been hurt by you shutting down. She's been hurt by you arguing with her or being mean or being distant, being cold, being overly sarcastic. I've heard it all, right? And I've done it all, guys. I've done it absolutely all. So she's going to have that fear, right? Because she wants it so badly, but she also knows how much it hurts on the other side, right? She wants to believe it, but she's scared of getting hurt again. So now what she's going to be looking for are chinks in the armor. And this is where this guy made a crucial mistake. And when I pointed out to him, he had an aha moment. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. This guy's an amazing man. And my job, in my opinion, as a mentor, is just to hold a mirror up, reflect back to you, right? Reflect back what's going on and give you some tools, right? Give you a methodology that you can use that is proven time and time again to get back on pace. And for him, what he was doing is he had been the lighthouse. He had been the wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce consistently for a couple months. That's amazing. That's a hard thing to do, fellas, but he had done it. And his wife started going on dates with him again. She started, having him over to the house a lot more. Like he was almost back, but he got so frustrated, right? As we all do, but he got so frustrated that she wasn't fully believing it that he snapped and he got irate a little bit. And his version of iration wasn't bad. He was just very snippety through a message back to her. It was very short. And the reason when I told him that, he's like, well, this is what she was doing. And, I'm going to kind of put her in her place a little bit. I go, is that what you used to do? And he's like, well, yeah. I go, interesting, right? Interesting that she pulled away. And his wife pulled away because why? She said, aha, there's the old him. He hasn't changed at all. And when he thought about that for a second, he goes, oh my gosh, I just gave her evidence that the old me could come back. And that's going to scare the crap out of her, right? She's like, oh my gosh, I almost had him back in the house. He almost moved back in. I'm falling in love with him again. Oh my gosh, this is scary. And now I see this other side, the old side. And she's remembering all those years of him being that way, all those years of him being condescending, all those years of her feeling lonely and living within a house of quiet desperation. All those memories are coming flooded back because he faltered once, right? So that's okay, right? All of us do it. And I told him, so I'm going to tell you. You got to dust yourself off and going right back to being you, being the real version of you, because you got to do it for you first and foremost, boys. Otherwise, the women can smell it a mile away. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt this episode, but the reality is if you are watching or listening to this right now, then you are looking to better yourself. And I applaud you. You're one of my people. And I want to give you the opportunity of taking massive action. So if you haven't joined the activation method yet, it's our flagship program. Do what thousands of other businessmen just like you have done and take action. Be one of the 1%ers that actually does the work and takes action. There'll be a link in the description that'll take you right to a page that'll just give you more information. There is no obligation. Just go check it out and see if it's a good fit for you. All right, let's get back to this episode. If you're not making the changes for yourself first, and you're making it for them, they know it's not going to last. This man, luckily for him, had made the changes for himself. And as a result, his wife was reaping the benefits. But there's still a lingering little bit of the old him, right, so to speak. And that's noticeable and it's understandable. So what I told him to do is just call it out. Call out the observation that, hey, I was a little bit of a jerk the other day. It's just, I love you, you and I almost said his kid's name. I love you and our kid. And so much that sometimes my heart hurts for not being with you. Because that was what's truly happening for him, right? That was the truth of it. He just handled it probably not in the best way possible. And then he just needs to keep showing up consistently. He did this, and next thing you know, things started to get better fast. She starts to go, okay, he sees it, and he's calling out the obvious, and he's showing up as the wolf again. Now she's getting more evidence that he is the man he claims to be. She's getting more evidence and stacking more on that side of him being the lighthouse within their family, within their relationship. And that's what it is, right? Guys, we all know actions speak louder than words, right? We all know that. So your actions are going to show up. And how do you show up? How do you show up? Are you showing up consistently? Are you showing up as a part-time basis? Or are you just showing up when it's convenient? Most of us, myself included, have shown up when it's convenient, when it's good. And then when things are bad or when people do things we don't like, we shut down or I'll show them, I'll just be a jerk, or I'll close down on them. I'll be distant. I'll push them away. Then they'll learn. That's not being a man, right? That's a child. That's what you do as children. We've just learned those behaviors over time when we take them into adulthood, right? That's different. You can't show up like that as a man. As a man, you show up consistently as the man, as the leader all the time, because that's who you are, if that's truly who you are. And you wouldn't be listening to this show or watching this on YouTube if that wasn't the case, if you weren't that guy. I know that about you, right? You're a 1%er. You do what needs to be done. You take action. Now, you may not be taking his action as fast as some others. That's up to you, right? But you're taking action. You're here right now. And so you got to understand that if your wife's been hurt, right, emotionally hurt, or if she feels that you've hurt her or wronged her, and you've done it repeatedly over time, and she's closed her heart to you, it's because she's scared. And she's scared if she opens her heart to you again, which is probably what she wants to do, really, then you're going to hurt her again. So you have to show up with this consistency. And the nice thing about this, in my experience, feminine energy, when masculine energy shows up consistently as a powerful man, right? Feminine energy forgets. Well, that doesn't say forgets. Feminine energy adapts. So you can change quicker. So in this guy, as an example, he falters. No big deal. We all do. If he calls it out, the elephant in the room, if you will, that he faltered, he knows he did. She knows he did. Just calls it out. He doesn't have to apologize for it. He's human. But he can call it out and identify it and goes back to being him, right? The lighthouse. She is going to adapt much quicker. So instead of her just completely leaving and saying that now I want a divorce because I have evidence that you aren't perfect, right? None of us are. But if he calls out his imperfections, she's going to say, oh, okay, cool. He can at least handle himself. He can handle his emotions. He can handle his inner self to a point where he can course correct that's going to give her more safety in knowing that he sees it and knowing that he isn't trying to go down that route long term, right? So now she can start to open her heart up a little bit more, or at least be open to the possibility of opening her heart, because if he hurts her, he is going to correct it fast, right? Because in relationships, you're always going to hurt each other. That's just going to happen inadvertently, right? Even, but they could be micro hurts or what have you, and everybody's got different sensitivities and all that stuff. But the reality is, she'll open her heart up more and more and be more open to her, the safer she feels. And the more he shows up consistently, and the next time he falters, he calls it out, takes his own responsibility for his side of the street, not blaming her, just owning his own shit, basically, as a man, and then going back to being himself, the wolf. She's going to open up more and more and more until eventually, I predict, this man will not only be back in the house, but he and his wife will have a marriage that will be second to none, right? They're going to have a marriage that probably both of them never even dreamed of, because he is now open to possibilities and things that he's never been in. He's the best shape of his life. His businesses are going great, as I said, all these other things that he's worked on. Because you work on one thing, if you work on your relationship, everything else tends to fall into place. It's the craziest thing. I've seen it time and time again. When your marriage is strong, that foundation's there, and your wife is your biggest cheerleader, not your biggest adversary, everything becomes easy, guys. It becomes so much easier. Everything becomes effortless. And that's what he's going to happen to him. I predict it, right? His kid, I keep wanting to say his kid's name. His kid is now going to have a mother and a father that are in a very loving adult relationship, an adult marriage, right? No one teaches us marriage, right? That's the craziest thing when I look at it retrospectively. But now his kid is going to have role models to look up to. Probably he didn't have. I didn't. He's going to have role models to look up to, and he's going to be in a very loving home environment. He'll be raised by his father and not another man. And so there's all kinds of bonuses that come in with this. And all he has to do is show up as himself, authentically himself. It's really as simple as that. Now, the hard part is figuring out who your authentic self is for a lot of men. As weird as it is, most men don't know who that is. And that's why we have a program called the Alpha Reset. We also have the activation method for self. It's a whole nother program that we run as well that we don't talk very much about on this show, but that's what that helps you do. That gives you a methodology to get your mojo back, get your passion back, figure out what your purpose is, and start really grabbing life by the balls, right? And as men, we get to do that, right? Our society is, for some reason, is beat it into us guys that we just need to be nice guys, or men are jerks, and this whole idea that it's going around the internet where women are talking about, well, I'd rather be alone with a grizzly bear than alone with a man, or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, and men are getting beaten down time and time again. And it's up to us as we're great men. We're not jerks. You wouldn't be here trying to better yourself if you were a jerk. As great men, we get to show society what it's like to be a great man, what it's like to be a great father, a great leader in our home, a great leader in business, a great leader in our community, great leader in your religious organizations. If you're a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or atheist, whatever it is for you, I'm not here to judge or anything. What I want are better leaders in this world, men that are going to lead the way, right? There's that old saying that if you want to change the world, it starts with changing yourself, because when you change yourself and better yourself, you can better your family. That's what we're really talking about here. When you better your family can go out and better the community. When you better your community, you can go out and better your state. And when you better your state, you can go out and better your country. Then you can go out and change the world. But it starts with us, and it starts with the leaders, and it starts with powerful men who get their power from the inside, who have the confidence, the intelligence, the knowledge to go out there and make a difference. And gentlemen, that starts with you. So when she sees a chink in that armor, when she sees that you falter, be powerful, pick yourself up, and call it out. She knows, therefore, you might as well say it. That's really the courageous thing. A lot of us don't want to say it or bring it up because we're embarrassed, or we don't want to be vulnerable, or whatever else it is. Just remember that when you're scared to do something, you do it anyway. That's what we call courage. That's why a lot of times we look up to firefighters or other people who are courageous, Doesn't mean that they wanted to run into that house on fire. They were scared when they did it anyway, right? That's courage. So you need to be courageous. And part of that courage is getting right back on your path, getting right back onto your path as soon as possible. You know, iron sharpens iron. Surround yourself with great men that are on the similar path, and that's your guaranteed way to stay on there, right? And yes, that is a lifetime endeavor, guys. You want to surround yourself with amazing men. Add more men to your tribe as soon as you can, right? I want to have a big tribe of men around me. So when I falter, because I will, I will. I want those men around me to, one, call me out, two, show me the path, right? Get me back on that path as soon as possible. And just by being in the conversation with men, right? Just like I'm in the conversation with you right now, that allows me to be on the path. I'm constantly in that conversation. The men I associate with I'm constantly in conversations about business, right? Because we work with businessmen. So I'm always talking about business, whether it be AI, whether it be product developments, investments. We're always talking about that. That's what we talk about. But I'm also talking about health, right? I'm talking about wellness and things like that. I'm talking about relationships. I'm talking about being a father. So all those conversations are conversations I want to be in because I want to be a better man. I want to continue to rise. I want my stock to keep going up. I want to see what this potential is. You know, here I am at 47. I want to know what my potential is. And I know I haven't hit it. And part of that is staying in that conversation, admitting it, right? But also doing it. And I share that with my wife. And my wife goes, okay, he's self-aware. He's aware enough that he knows that it's not perfect, but he's working on it. Right now, she'll give me much more leeway when I falter, just as I would you, or just as I would her. Right? We very rarely discount somebody for making a mistake when they try to make it better, when they genuinely want to work on it. Very rarely. It's when people hide it, or when people try to, gaslight us or whatever else. Our spidey senses come up, and that's when problems happen. So again, for your wife, how long will it take, right? When will she see the change? You need to be consistent, right? And when you falter, you need to call it out, because the odds are that when you falter, all she's doing is go, aha, I see it. And it's giving her more evidence. If you don't call it out, you're giving her more evidence that you haven't changed, right? So you just got to step up and keep going. So how long will it take? Everybody's different. But I can guarantee you, that if you're consistently showing up as the powerful man that I know you to be, that's inside of you, the man that when you look yourself in the mirror, you know is there. You're looking for him. I know you're looking for him, guys. I get it. I talked to thousands of you, and I know what you're looking for. He is inside. Call him forward. Let him be out there. Let him be the best version of yourself. If you want some help, there'll be a link in the description here. The activation method is our flagship program. We have 2 different versions. That's a great place to start. If that's not for you, totally get it, but start somewhere. Call him forward and be him consistently, and things will fall into place. Gentlemen, as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. What action are you going to take today? Whatever that is, do it. I'm always in your corner. See you next time on the TPM Show.